it's me die. Rely on yourself in no way. Believe.
Morning, everybody. It is middle of the week. Middle of the week, regular time, back at it again. Regular time tomorrow, regular time Friday. Do not forget, log in your books. Um, the 19th, I will not be live. I will not be live the 20th, and I will not be live the 23rd. 19th, 20th, 23rd. I'll be out of town. Okay. So make sure you log that, please. Don't want people asking, where are you at? What are you having show today? I will not be having shows those days. Just make sure you log it. Regular time tomorrow, regular time Friday, and next week as well. And we will be doing the part 2 to the interview with that lady on Sunday, not Saturday. I want to get all those housekeeping things out the way first. Today, however, I want to have a conversation around Revelation chapter 12. Not necessarily the whole thing, but from around verse 13 and, oh, well, sorry, not 13, 10 and on. So we're going to start at verse 10 and go forward to verse 11, 12, 12. So let's start there. Then I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ have come. And the accuser of our brethren, who accused them before our God day and night, has been cast down. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to death. Therefore rejoice, O heaven, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows he has a short time. Now, I'm going to ask us to do something that I know most of you already do. Okay, I know that most of you already do what I'm about to ask you to do, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I think many of us get caught up in churchiness, if you know what I mean. We invite people to church. We tell them about our church. We tell them about our pastor. Very few of us tell anybody about our story. Very few of us tell our testimony. You see, and I think many of us have a testimony that will destroy a lot of vices that people have. It doesn't say here that they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word from their preacher. It didn't say and the word that they thought they knew. The word of their testimony. Throughout the whole New Testament, you hear each one has. Not each one has irrelevancy, or each one has not enough, or this one's not as important. Each one has. That's been long ignored in the church now. That's no longer the way we gather. When we gather now, we gather to what? Listen. To be told. To be lined up and ushered somewhere. You guys do realize that the complete opposite of what the church life is supposed to look like is what we indulge in almost every Sunday. There are shepherds, yes. And each shepherd is supposed to guide the person into a personal relationship so that when they gather together, each one can have. They are pretty much to keep the sheep from running amok. That's all. But the sheep is allowed to graze wherever they want within the pasture. Today we have people that will take a sheep to only one bush and tie the sheep there, and that's the only thing that that sheep eats, and it never is allowed to be actually free. That's what the church has become. Chained sheep, not free, chained. Chained, and not only chained, chained and only given a certain diet. Meanwhile, the shepherd that's supposed to be over them, it's not his field. There is an owner. They're just handymen. And they've usurped that authority and decided for themselves that the owner of the sheep does not have nearly as much power over the sheep as they do. That is the current iteration of the church. What the real version of the church is, each one comes together every time we meet to tell everyone else about what God has done and is doing in your life, your testimony. So it should be something that you have going on all the time. So you have something. It encourages you, see, to have a something to share, which means you have to at least spend time with him outside of Sunday morning. At this rate, nobody will be able to overcome it because they will have no testimony. No one will have testimonies anymore because no one will actually go through any real change. They will assimilate. And that's what has become now Christianity, assimilation. You join into a culture depending on what body you worship with. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. You go one place and you behave a certain way, and then you go to another place and you behave that way, and then you go to another place and you behave that way. You assimilate. You do not carry a personal testimony, which is what it's supposed to be. And that's unfortunate, considering what the verse says. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, did not love their lives to death. I could understand now why many are afraid of dying. If I knew in my heart that there was something off about my living, I would be afraid to die because I wasn't sure whether or not I'd be going a certain place. And too many saints are afraid of death. Now, I will tell you this. I don't think I'm necessarily afraid of death. What kind of strikes any kind of fear in me is how I might die. I do not want to drown. That would, I know the end result will be dead, but I mean, I don't want to drown. That's the one thing. If I were to be honest about a fear I have of dying, it's not the dying part, it's the how. And drowning is like it. I wouldn't want to drown. If I were to nag God about anything, it'd be please don't end my life via drowning. But I'm also aware that that could happen, and that would be the one thing he'd allow to try and get past my fear of water. I could see it. I wouldn't blame him. It's what fathers do. However, I will continue to ask that it not be by drowning. But I'm not afraid of death itself. I used to be very afraid of death. I used to be afraid of death because I did not have a testimony. Everyone around me that I knew, they had one. I didn't. I never had that tangible testimony to give people until salvation happened, and then I had a story. A story actually happened. Exactly. When you meet together, one sing, one teach, another special revelation from God. Everybody has something. Why do they have it? Not because you're supposed to bring it. It should be a natural result of having had spent time with God. There should be a natural outflowing from you of some sort because you spent time. It would be no different than Moses coming down. And you could tell that he was before God because his face was a completely different look altogether. His countenance was, he was glowing. The other thing is, you can't define for the other person what that outpouring looks like because each one has. Not each one copies, each one has. We have become group thinkers in the church, which is why we have denominations, which is why we have sects. We have these people over here who are charismatic. We have these people who are Protestant. We have these over here. We have those over there, and they act a certain way, and that is how they are. They are. They identify by their culture that they have handed down and down and down. None of them want to identify by the freedom in Christ. They say it, but I bet you they'll never want to cross exist because they each think they're right. This one thinks you have to speak in tongues in order to be saved. You're not full with the Spirit unless you can speak in tongues. This one here, you have to believe in deliverance. If you don't believe in deliverance, you're dead meat. This one, you have to dance when you sing. If you don't dance, and you obviously don't have anything to praise about. Or here's what you could do: is that person dedicating their life to Christ, and are you allowing Christ to be in that person who he wants to be? Because if it were normal, David would have made a decree for everyone to dance out their clothes. If it were natural to always do that, because you had so much, he would have made a national decree. But your expression is not, your expression of a relationship is not based on what other people want to see. It's based on what time you spent with him and what he's doing in you. Not everybody is celebratory over change. Some people hold on to bad habits for so long that letting go, it's a somber event. It's not that they don't want to let go, but they recognize a change is happening, and sometimes you don't like the change. So it's not rejoice. There is eventually a rejoice, and even then, you cannot dictate for that person what that rejoicing should look like. It's not yours. When you do that, you do not give that person room for their testimony. They now have to participate in your testimony to make it valid for anybody else. So it's not theirs. They can't overcome that way. They don't have a story. What are they going to tell other people? They tell other people what happened to you and how it should look for you. And then they say, well, that's the person that taught me, so I have to make mine fashioned after theirs. Why do you think so many preachers pass down certain behaviors in a church? Why do you think that is? Why do you think a majority of these churches act a certain way, and they require, a lot of them do require their members to do the same thing? Having a personal relationship is not only better for the kingdom, it's a necessity. I made this analogy some time back, and I don't think I fleshed it out quite properly. But I equate our journey to Christ as though we're all given a place to be, okay? And an end point. This is his house. Boom. And when you look at this map, everybody else is coming from a different spot on this map. All roads lead to the house. Okay. All the roads lead to that house. But everybody's starting at a different point on the map. And some of them start real close and some of them start real far back and have these kinds of roads to go through. And some have these and then a little, but you can't go to somebody else's road and say, hey, that's not the way you walk that road. You got to walk the road with less turns, but the road doesn't have less turns. But they're all getting to the same location. It's all one way. Now, mind you, you have to embark on the journey. But the person that's taking their own journey there cannot dictate for you nor you for them that path. There are things that happen along that road that only you go through. And there are some that are indeed shared by others. But you have to go through that yourself. This is your walk. Still loving the same God, following the same God, going towards the same God, a completely different route. Some people will have a whole lot of zigzags because of where they put themselves. Some won't. But you overcome by having a testimony. The devil couldn't keep me down here. The devil couldn't keep me down there. The devil couldn't keep me down there. I've been in a similar situation where the devil couldn't keep me down there. Your transition has to be personal. We don't want it though. And I think we can be admitting of this. A lot of us don't. There are some, okay, I can tell you for me, I know there are portions of me still there that I want to hold on to because I feel that they identify my personality. But what I have to be is willing that if he says that goes, it goes. The only way I can find out if it needs to go is if I'm spending time, though. If I'm not spending time, I will find myself actually assimilating God to myself, where I've made him changeable, not me. I will start to say, well, there is freedom, so I can do whatever I want. I'll start doing stuff like that. It may not be extreme at first, but I start to tailor him to fit me. You'll find that today in a lot of churches. How do they do it? Okay. God is love. Okay, good. Then what they do, they tailor the word love, God's love, into man's version of love, and then they ascribe God to it, which means God loves. Let me know if you can hear me. Microphone went out again. Okay, good. Does God love everybody? He loves his creation because he made it. And God's love is extended to everybody. Not everybody will accept his love. Is salvation for everybody? Yes, but not everybody will be saved. But what mankind has done to that theory is this: there isn't anything you have to do to be saved because God died for everybody. Now, that's not how it works, but because they've taken love to mean anything without a testimony, it'll fit. And what do you have? You have an entire body of people that take love, screw with it, change it into hate, and still call it God love. And this is now what the church has become, this toxic mix, this mask. When you do watercolor, if any of you ever do art, there is a material called misket. Okay. Now, misket is a clear liquid that you can paint onto your paper. Now, what misket does is that it covers the paper in a film that watercolor beads off of. So if you want a spot that doesn't need paint on it, or you want to put a separate color there, you put some misket over it, and then you can paint freely, and it covers it over and starts to bead, and then you can erase the misket. See, what a lot of churches do is they put misket over their sin and their issues. And they want to say, well, see, I'm covered. And they pour, but I say I'm putting it with blood of Christ all over everything, except for that one thing, because you put misket on it. And then when it's all said and done, everyone saw the painting and they saw liquid on the paper. They thought it was all covered. And then you go back and you erase the misket. And then there are some spots on there that aren't covered. But for the most part, you say it is because I did apply the blood. He must want that there. Just because you want something does not mean he wants something. And the easy way for you to get past that is to never tell anybody that you didn't present it. Welcome to the current church. Welcome to the current church. Accept everything by masking stuff away and telling everybody, but God accepts it because we did apply the blood. You cannot get a testimony by holding on to the things that he's trying to put to death. The testimony is in the dying of those things. The testimony is in the dying to the things that you hold on most dearly to. Your coping mechanism, your cop out, your addiction, all the things that you identify yourself by that are easily seen when you look at them via God's eyes, need to go, and you decide to hold on to them, paints a very big picture of whether or not you are having a testimony building or not. And if you don't give those up, there is no way to have a testimony. And if you don't have a testimony, you can't overcome. Because there's nothing to overcome because you've given everything up to yourself to have. I don't have to overcome it. Why? God likes it. People that say you can be gay and Christian, you know why they say that? Because they don't want to give it up. So they chalk it up under love. God loves all. He never mentioned that word. Man put that word in there. You start to twist your idea into God's word and say he said it. There is coming a time, and I want people to be aware, you may not be alive for it, but this is why you teach your kids. There's coming a time where someone in our now generation or the next will have to face the question of your walk. You will be asked under threat of persecution if you believe Christ and denounce certain things or accept certain things. And based on your answer, you live or die. The question then remains, are you going to have enough fortitude to say, yes, I believe this, unequivocally this, and nothing but this. And if that means you kill me, that's what it means. Are you ready for that? I know many of us want to avoid it by saying, "Oh, God's going to save, and this person's going to save, and we're going to have an easy time, and rapture's going to happen first." You have no idea what's coming. You hope, you wish, you pray for, you interpret. You don't know what He's going to allow you to go through. You have zero clue. You don't even know when you are going to expire. But here you are waiting for something that you don't even know the date is. And that is all your identity is based around you leaving. Meantime, before you even get to leave, you have to be tested. But you're so stuck on leaving that you don't even figure out that, wait a minute, I got to be prepped for the question to get me out of here. This is what ended up happening. But I was so sure I wasn't going to be persecuted. Well, why am I going through this? Why? Be ready. Okay, look, you could look forward to the rapture all you want. Ain't no problem with that. What if you enter rapture via murder, though? What if the rapture that you think is going to happen is via death? Because remember, there are those that are dead that are caught up too, right? Okay. Suppose you're one of the ones that have to die first, not just transitioning from alive to gone. What if you're one where they tell you, hey, if you believe in God, I'm killing you right now. You better denounce him. You ready for that? Or are you just hoping that will never happen so you can just disappear? Pew! Be gone. The word of your testimony is required. It is required. Thank you, Carrera. It's required. You cannot offer what you don't got. And if you don't got it, you can't get in. But you want to get it without giving up. And so you can't acquire it, but you think you have, which is why many will say on that day, didn't we? Didn't we? Didn't we? Didn't we? And he can look at you and say, but I didn't know you. You have no testimony of me in your life. You don't even have a way to tell anybody else about me because you never brought you to me for me to end. You never did that. You brought what you thought I needed and you kept it and you assumed that what you were doing was knowing me, but you never brought it to me. You used Miskit. You used Miskit. My advice is this: since you don't know how you are going to exit this world, since you don't know when you're going to exit this world, you don't know if you're going to exit this world. The only thing you know for a fact is this: God is real and he's calling you to a relationship with him. If you do those two things, I don't think you'll remotely have to worry about the other part. I'm not worried about whether or not I'm going to be puffed out of my clothes and disappear. I don't care. I don't care if the dragon and the lady on the horse and the red, all of that's real. I don't care. Why don't I care? Because I am not the one that's instigating that. That's his job. He's the one that will set all things in motion, not me. Even if I were to interpret what I think I see, I might be wrong. So, you know what? The only thing I can possibly do is stay in him. If I just do that, I cannot go wrong. I can't. One, if there's something I'm supposed to do, he'll tell me. It'll be plain. But if I'm not abiding, you know what'll end up happening? I start to assume that this is something I'm supposed to do, and you end up doing something that you ain't supposed to do because you never consulted. And you also ain't gonna know whether or not something that's happening is as a result of revelation or not. Everybody's looking for a sign. Everybody's looking for a wonder. Nobody's looking for a testimony. Give me a sign. Tell me how this is going to end. He told you nobody would know for a reason. For a reason. Look, kids know when their birthday is coming up. Kids know when Christmas is coming up. And kids know that gifts happen. And usually when they act a fool, just about a month or two before the big time happens, either birthday or Christmas, you see some of the best behavior out of your children. They may mess up, but they are some of the most well behaved. Why? They have a set date that they know something is happening. We want that from God. We want Him to tell us when so we can act accordingly to get our reward. The thing is, He's more like a parent who just randomly rewards his children. And so these children who never really focus on what the dad or mom is doing, they just focus on the dates. They only behave a certain way at certain times. And the parents start to realize that, so I'm not going to give you a random gift. Then there are other kids who behave genuinely because they love their parents. They invest time in knowing who their parents are, doing things for parents. There's reciprocal love. And then once in a while, a surprise will pop out of nowhere and the kid won't even know it's happening. And the first reaction isn't, I'm so awesome that I behaved to get this. It's, thank you, mom and dad. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but thank you. There's a marked difference between the two children. And unfortunately, the church today is the first one where they act only so much and so well because they expect something. The others are doing it out of love for the parent and they don't expect it, but when they do get it, they're grateful, completely grateful to the parent. The other mark is that they're not going to then repeat the action to get another gift. They genuinely are doing this because the connection they have with their parent is strong and they want to keep it that way. That's more valuable than the surprise gift that they get, as appreciative as they are. All too many of us in the church today do the opposite. We go to church because we hear that God loves us when we go and fellowship. So we better go. Okay. We give because we were told that that is something that He also likes. So we have to give. Why are we giving? So we can get a blessing. We tell people for a blessing. All of it has to do with what we get back. 90% now of the churches anymore tell you what to do in order to get something from God. Get it overflowing, get it in abundance, more than you ever ask or imagine. That's not the reason you pursue Him. You pursue Him because of who He is, not what He gets you, not what you get, not what He gives you. Him. If He ain't enough, you will hear, I never knew you. I never did. There is no freedom anymore unfortunately, in many of the churches. I wouldn't say all. There's conformity, there's compliance, there's coercion, there's not community. Community should be around one central thing, and that is Christ, but it's not there anymore because they don't know him. They know of, they know his acts, they know what he can give, but him and allowing him to do through everybody what he wants to do, that's difficult. Because we have to see. We need to see. And the way we see that God is real in you is if you do what we're doing. Join us, do what we're doing to express what God is doing for you. Not express the way God is doing stuff. No, 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 no. We have to know by a certain behavior that God is doing something. And if you're not in that behavior, how can we be sure that God is doing anything for you? You're not grateful. Why? Because you're not doing a certain thing. You're not behaving like us. So obviously, God does not mean as much to you as he does to us. And if you're going to be here, you have to make sure that you do what we do. While every sheep has wool, every sheep has quite the personality difference. There are some that just like to sit. They're still part of the pen. There are some that just run around. They're still part of the pen. There are some that eat grass and graze all day. They're still part of the pen. There are some that just meander. There are some that group, some that stay apart. They are all part of the flock. And for one to go and say to the other, you don't flock enough, so get out the flock. That's ridiculous. You're not being sheepy enough. There are some sheep that just go meh all day long. And then there are some that don't even make a sound. There are some that need to be shorn all the time because their wool grows crazy, and some that barely need to be shorn. There are some stupid sheep that just go on and run through the fences, bust their head, get caught on all kinds of stuff. The shepherd's still taking care of them. Then there are some sheep that just sit there right next to the shepherd to get pet all day long. No enthusiasm, no extravagant behavior. They just sit. They're just there. They're completely content to just be in the presence of their shepherd and be fine. But along comes somebody who is not even part of the field and tries to tell one sheep, you're not sheeping enough. You need to sheep more. We need to sheep like that sheep is doing. And if you're not sheeping that way, you ain't a sheep. All the sheep behave the same way. You can't be going over there acting like one sheep and not be. Come on, man. Look at that sheep over there. He's just jumping into the wall. That's enthusiasm for his shepherd. Now go do what he's doing, or I can't believe that you are a true sheep of Christ. Each one has. You don't dictate what each one has, because each one has comes as a result of their testimony personally. My advice is to make sure you are in a position where you do what is necessary, what is needed for this journey that you're on to give you a testimony. Give up, relinquish, turn around from, die to, whatever is necessary for that testimony to have meaning, to occur. If that happens, I think we can end up changing the view a world has on the church. Right now, the church is a pariah. The church is a function of the pastor. They're always in I belong to the church of that guy. Or they belong to some seminary and I belong to that group. It's never just God. It's something else, always extra. Tomorrow, I want to talk about this deliverance ministry, um, the concept of it, and why it's gaining such a um, flagrant role in churches. Why has it become something that coming to Christ doesn't take care of? Um, I understand the fanfare behind it and understand the enthusiasm and what it does. I get it. I get that the idea behind it is amazing. But I want to talk about it directly, deliverance, what it is and what it isn't, and what it's supposed to do, and whether that's something that's listed in the book as a top priority for the church or for the Christian, or if that's something that takes place when you become one. You know what I mean? So we're gonna have a discussion about deliverance, um, and how now everybody's an apostle and everybody's a prophet now. Again, to me, this is about title grabbing. You want to be something so bad that you have to have a title. You want to have a title. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. In either case, um, if you haven't checked out the Savage Patriots yet, we have just put up a video a couple of days ago. Hollywood Whistleblower, go check it out. Um, we're going to be recapping last night's debate, if you call it that, and might do the same thing on Too Strong. Don't know yet. We'll see. And then I think that is the biggest thing. Yeah. So make sure you look out. That's where they're going to be the rest of the day. That's going to be the rest of the day. I don't think of any other housekeeping stuff I have. So, oh yeah, like I just said at the beginning, Sunday we'll be doing the part 2 to my testimony on Real Talk. If you have not gone to sub there, go for it. Please go do that. Scrolling at the bottom, options to help, hit this or not, up to you and God. Decide that with your Father. I do have a new shirt that I did manage to put together, and I want you to see this one in case you guys want something or want it. I think it was a pretty good idea. It was Corey and I were talking live, and that particular a statement just popped in and out of me, and I really, 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 really thought it would make a really good, cute little shirt. So I made one. So let me bring this up for you, and you can decide whether or not you want to grab it. All right, cool. Here it is. It says, you cannot plan past God. You cannot plan past God. I think we like to think we can get ahead of him. We like to think we can outthink him, outmaneuver, outplan. Remember what Job said, I know that no plan of yours can be thwarted. Okay, make sure, so you go check out the store, see if you like it. There's a couple of, there's a cup, I think, and a necklace with it on. I'm trying to get the necklace for myself too. The necklace looks like it's going to be a good one. I like it. So anyway, we'll catch you guys later today on Savage Patriots 6:30, and then on Too Strong. Then tomorrow we will deal with the oh gosh, what's that? I was just saying it. The deliverance thing. We'll deal with the deliverance thing. Okay. We'll talk about this whole deliverance movement. So check back then. We'll catch you guys on the morrow for that. We'll see you guys on Savage Patriots later today. Wisdom calls to you from the street. So please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself and